Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Dino. It's a little bit of a rainy day here in Niagara Falls, so we're gonna get to work on a project that I've had sitting in my basement for a while. We're gonna take our DR650 seat from the stock original to this, which looks really good, and I'm gonna show you how to install this and what the product is like in just a minute. So why don't you sit back, grab yourself something cold to drink, and enjoy Dino's Tinker Shed. I'll see you in a minute. When Suzuki redesigned the DR650 back in 1996, it really was designed as a dual sport motorcycle, a bike that you could hop on in the morning, ride to your local off-road park or trail system, and ride off-road all day long, come home and have a great day without needing a trailer. However, in recent years, with the advent of adventure riding motorcycles, many people, including myself, have taken this platform and massaged it into a small displacement adventure bike. And these bikes have gone all over the world. There's a lot of arguments for why the DR650 is a good platform for a small displacement adventure bike. However, universally, one of the complaints is the fact that when Suzuki designed this bike, they designed it as a big dirt bike, and the seat on this bike is just that. It's a thin, tall, narrow, hard 2x4 like dirt bike seat that from a dual sport perspective functions rather well, but for any long-term highway use or even long gravel use, the seat can become uncomfortable after just an hour and a half of riding on it. To solve this, the aftermarket produces a lot of high-quality saddles for the DR650, and it's an upgrade that many people choose to do early on in their riding experience with the bike. I've had mine 3.5 years, and I have just been too cheap to buy a Corbin or a Seat Concept seat that runs $500, $600, $700 Canadian. It just didn't make sense to me at the time. My friend Carl took his DR saddle to a local upholstery shop, and they did a great job reupholstering it and adding a little more softer foam to the bike, and he really enjoys it. For me though, I wanted something a little bit wider, something that would support your hip and tailbones over those long rides, because even though I have the optional gel saddle on my bike from Suzuki, I can still feel the seat pan in there after a couple hours sitting in the saddle. So I wanted something that was a little bit wider. Recently, I was cruising around on Amazon and I noticed Mantts produces a seat foam and seat cover option that's really inexpensive. It's about $114 Canadian. And I thought, you know, for $114, I'm willing to take a gamble on it, install it, and give you my review on it. I purchased a Mantts windscreen last fall, and I was pleasantly surprised with the quality and the thickness of the windshield, and I've been commuting back and forth to work for the last 4 weeks or so, and the windshield is really good. It is nice and solidly mounted on the bike and provides just enough protection for the way that I like to ride. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this, I'll install it, and then in a week or two, I can give you a review on what I think of the saddle. So what's actually included in the bike, or in the box, I guess, from Mantts? Okay, so here is the box that the seat and seat foam comes in, and it's enormous, but it's nice and light. So why don't we get into this, and we'll take a look at what comes with the kit. here it is. So you get a complete new foam, and on the underside are the instructions and the seat cover itself. I haven't opened these yet, but I want to open them with you to have a look initially what my thoughts are. And I can tell you right now, just looking sort of down in this area through the plastic, it looks like this has been molded off of a DR650 seat pan because you can see all the texture inside the foam. So that's really good. And I like the fact the seat foam wraps around the sides of the seat to hopefully provide even more comfort when I'm riding. Let's get a utility knife. We'll pop this open and we'll see what sort of is in the kit. Now, what I'm seeing here, it's saying DRZ400 seat. So I'm hoping it's a universal. Oh, it fit the Suzuki DR650 right there. That's good. Now it does come with some nice instructions. Looks pretty good. Should not be bent more. Okay. So I'm going to set those aside and we'll keep on digging. Now obviously you want to be careful not to cut the seat cover itself as you're doing this. So I'm going to take my time here as we open things up. Now obviously, and I'm sure you read on there that this is made in China, which does not surprise me at all. Here's our seat cover. I'm going to set that aside. We'll have a look at that in a minute after I get the rest of the foam off, or the plastic off the foam here. And here is our new seat foam. The contrast isn't going to be the best since I've chosen a white backdrop on there. Hopefully you can see that the moldings look pretty good. There's a few voids in the foam here, which I don't think are going to be a big issue. But the seat is nice and wide. And in fact, if I measured that, it's 11 inches wide at the widest part. And it tapers down nicely up front here, very similar to a Seat Concepts. I will say this is a low seat. My gel saddle is a lower seat. So this might be a good option for other riders. The foam feels really good. It's forgiving, but it's firm. And the bolsters on the side here look really, really thick. I'm hoping this is a good seat. It looks pretty promising already. But let's take a look at the seat cover now and see what that looks like. I'll just set this over here. It's interesting, the seat cover also comes with the same set of instructions. So you must be able to buy the seat cover separate if you already have the foam. It comes with a plastic sheet. I'm assuming that this goes between the seat foam and the seat cover to provide water protection, which is a great idea. A lot of people will use a plastic bag in between the seat foam and the seat cover to provide that. They provide 2 sheets of it. So when we read the instructions here, we'll know what to do. And here is the seat cover itself. Interestingly, it is, I did not expect this, it's elasticized. That's bizarre. Most seat covers that I'm familiar with get stapled. This one has elastic around the outside of it here. Now that's interesting. Now I really need to read the instructions. Looking at it, it hardly seems big enough to fit, but I suppose, let me just get the tape measure out again. Yeah, it's, let's see here. It feels nice and grippy, but it is only 10.5 inches across the top here, so this must stretch a little bit. It is sewn with seam tape inside, which is nice. It seems reasonably well built. I'm just not sure exactly whether you staple this on or not. That's curious to me. All right, so it does say that the seat cover gets stapled onto the seat pan, not just held on with that sort of stretchy stuff there. But it does say that I have to leave it out in the sun to stretch it, which makes sense. Unfortunately, today it's a little bit overcast, at least here at 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm starting to do this video. But what I can do is I can get the old seat pan off, I can get the seat cover off and the old foam and get this seat cover adhered with some spray adhesive. So we'll do that now. Now that we have the two seat foams side by side, you can really see the difference in width on these things. They're surprisingly different. You can kind of see here, this one's a substantial amount wider. But now we need to get all of these staples out of this seat pan. And this, of course, is one of the time-consuming issues. So let's try that. We'll get working on it. And I'll just speed through it just so you don't have to watch. When you get down here around these seat brace brackets, there's two 10mm nuts on here that I'm going to take off to give us a little bit better access to. All right, we have all of our staples out now. And now we're going to pull off the stock cover and see what we have underneath. As I said before, the cover seems to be a very high quality piece and it fits very, very tightly over top of the seat pan. But you just peel that off and you are left with our stock foam, which on initial inspection appears to be glued down, which is going to mean I'm going to have to cut it off and clean the whole pan. It might come off easier than I'm thinking here, but let's just see. I'm going to try getting my fingers under it and peeling this back and seeing how easily this comes off. It might just be stuck on there from years of sitting. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'll work my way around it and see what we're left with. I'm just kind of rolling it off the edge. There does appear to be a little bit of glue along here, and I can sort of roll that back with my fingers, doing as little damage to the stock foam as I can. Again, I want to keep this just in case I don't like this other seat. I can repurpose and reinstall the original stock piece. Yeah, that seems to be working a little bit better. There we go. I can see here it's missing these nubbers, which may or may not be an issue, but overall it looks pretty good. And just from a fit and finish, just initially it fits on there really well. Now I can definitely feel that it's softer in the center, but it does feel pretty good. I do think there's maybe, this is a gel seat. I can actually feel the gel insert right here on the stock bike. There's definitely a gel insert right there. But this one feels a little firmer towards the outside, which might help on your buttocks. Okay, the next step is to come in and clean all of these edges up so that we can re-glue the new seat foam down. So I'll get to work on that now. I found a little bit of acetone on a rag. Cleans this glue up pretty well and doesn't seem to affect the seat pan at all. Just wear a glove when you use acetone, and I've got a few windows open in here just for some ventilation. But I'm just going to go around the whole seat pan and clean up any old glue residue and get it ready for the next step. The next step is to bond the foam back down onto the seat tray. To do this, I'm going to use this general trim adhesive that's safe for foams, fabrics, carpets, things like that, made by Marhide. I have had this can probably 30 years. I believe my father-in-law, Frank, gave me this when we first moved into our house. I tried a little bit of it on the uppermost point of the foam seat just to make sure it wouldn't melt it, and it doesn't. It tacks up really good still. So I'm going to apply a coat to the seat pan, focusing a lot on the upper and sides here. And then I'll press the seat foam in, put a little bit of weight on it to hold it, and leave it probably for several hours while I go get some breakfast. Because like I said, I started this video around 7 in the morning here, and Dino's getting hungry. It's been about an hour and a half since I spray adhesive to the foam to the seat pan. So I'm going to take this off and we'll see how it looks. It seems pretty good. It's adhered on there well. We should be ready for the next step now of putting on the cover. The challenge again for me today is it's not sunny out. You're supposed to leave it out into the sun to stretch a little bit, make it easier to get things on here. I guess the next thing I can do though is I can put the waterproof membrane on and we'll see how that fits. Let's try that now. So this waterproof membrane feels much sturdier than just a garbage bag that I've used in the past, and it feels a little bit slippery. They definitely give you lots to wrap around the entire seat, and I'm not sure whether to trim it now or to trim it after I get the seat cover installed. I think what I might do is I might leave it on here, and once the seat cover's on, I can come by and trim it afterwards so I get the maximum coverage. I'm just going to lay it on here like this, and I'm going to see if I can get the seat cover to snap around it now, or if I'm going to have to heat it up. We're just going to have to see. I'm going to use an air stapler the same as I did in my ATV reupholstery. You really need one of these to do a good job. You can use a hand stapler if you have one. I'm going to use the air stapler because it does a better job and it's easier on your wrists. This is T50 staples, And although the instructions don't specify, I'm going to use 5/16 or 8mm staples to apply this to the seat. I don't want them to be any thicker than that if I can avoid it, just so they don't penetrate too far into the foam. So what I'll do is I'm going to slide through this episode, or this part of the episode, fairly quickly, because like I said, you can always go and watch the other video that I have on reupholstery. This is really more about this particular product than reupholstering the seat, but I'll keep the camera rolling. I'm going to start by fastening the center of the seat and then working out all of the folds and all of the creases out to the outside as you work. So let's have a look and see how that functions. So I have installed a number of snowmobile seat covers like this, some ATV seat covers over the years, all kinds of different brands. This is by far the most difficult one I've done, and I think for a couple reasons. One is the material feels very solid, but it doesn't have a lot of stretch, probably because I haven't really heated it up. But there's also not a lot of extra material to get your fingers on to pull it over top of the edges. And this is where I'm having problems here, is rolling that material over the edge to a point where I can get a staple in it comfortably. I'm going to keep working at it, but boy, this is much harder than just about any seat cover I've ever had to install on anything. So I'll keep working, but boy, oh boy, I might have to wait until the sun comes out so that I can actually get this thing fastened in here for you in a way that's going to work. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That is something else. Okay, I'll keep working. And here it is, fully upholstered. And I will once again say, this was a challenging seat cover to put on. And I'm not 100% satisfied with my job on this. If you look, I don't quite have it centered all the way around. It's close, but it's a little high on this side over here versus this side. And the one thing that I definitely wish Mantts would take a look at is how much material or extra material they give you. So if I flip this over and we have a look, you can see that there's not a lot of extra material, and it took a tremendous amount of finger strength, a little bit of heating with a hairdryer just to get it to this point. And up on the top here, I've got a fairly good row of staples going around, but in some cases it's into this sort of stretch fabric here and not into the main fabric. Now, because this thing is so tight, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's actually twisted the seat pan because it's under a fair amount of stress. Now, I've put this and test fit this onto the bike, and because it's registered with those brackets, it's not a real problem. It twists back into shape and sits down properly. But why don't we put it on the bike and we can have a look and see what you think in terms of how this thing looks, and I can sit on it for the first time. Okay, the only thing really left now is to have a seat on this and see how it feels. So I'm gonna get on it now for the first time and I'll let you know what it feels like. Huh, okay. It definitely is much wider. I can feel it, and it's dished in the center. So with my old seat, I always felt like my butt cheeks were hanging off the outside of the seat and sort of sagging, and then I'd feel the seat pan. This one feels very much like it's supporting the outside of your cheeks. Now I can feel that width on the inside of my thighs here when I'm sitting, but I have a feeling, yeah, when I put a leg up, it actually supports all underneath your thigh. It feels really good. The foam is firmer than the gel seat that I had, the stock gel seat, but I can't feel any of the seat pan through my butt like I could with the gel seat. I think this is going to be pretty good, but I'm not going to know until I put some miles on this thing. The good news is I'm able to ride this back and forth to work about 100 kilometers a day round trip. So within a week or so, weather permitting, I should have a pretty good feel for sort of how the seat feels when you ride it. I'm really looking forward to this. Feels pretty good already. Well, that about wraps up today's episode, but you're probably wondering, what are my final thoughts on the seat so far? Well, there are some pros and cons that I see to this seat already. The pros are it seems to be made from fairly robust material. The seat foam seems to be well engineered and of a good durometer. The seat cover itself seems like it's made from a durable fabric, and the cost, well, at $114 Canadian, seems like a no-brainer. I also like the fit and the look of the seat once it's on the bike, and my initial seat of the pants feeling is the wider, firmer seat should be more comfortable, but again, until I ride this thing a little bit, I won't know for sure. The cons, well, definitely I think there should be a little bit more material around the perimeter of the seat cover. It was very, very difficult for me to get this seat on and centered, and in the end I wasn't 100% satisfied with the way the seat came out. I like it to be a little bit more uniform. Mantts, if you're listening, add a little bit more material, don't be so cheap. So for the home mechanic, this might be a little bit more challenging than other projects we've had on this show here before. However, I think overall the seat seems really well, but I'm not going to know for sure until I do a bit of riding. So in the next couple weeks, I'll get a review out and let you know how the first few 500 kilometers or so feel riding on the seat. Okay, that about wraps things up today. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please like, subscribe, share, all that great stuff. I love to see the channel grow. Until then, you have a great day. I hope to see you here soon on Dino's Tinker Shed, and remember, tinker easy. Bye for now.